Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to be the second most charismatic Mitchell you meet today. My name is Sharone Mitchell, and I'm proud to serve as the Cook County Public Defender. Give it up. For those of you that don't know, public defenders in Cook County represent the vast majority of people ensnared in the criminal legal system. And that, to me and to many, is incredibly sad. Why is that? It's not because we don't work hard. It's not that because we don't want the work. It's because it's a reflection of a terrible reality that the vast majority of those people ensnared in the criminal legal system are poor. You're only assigned a public defender when you cannot afford an attorney. And it's indicative of the bond, the incredibly strong bond that links poverty and participation in the legal system. And when you add race to the picture, it becomes even more sad. Now, it's very dark out there, but I'm willing to guess, I feel strongly about this, that there are more poor black men in Cook County Jail than there are people in this room. It's incredibly sad. But what makes me happy, what makes me optimistic, is that there's a serious, there is a organized, there is a diverse, there's a powerful coalition of folks committed to a host of goals, including but not limited to dismantling and detangling the link between poverty and incarceration. And I'm so proud to be a part of that movement. Listen, y'all, I was born, I was raised, I live in a beautiful corner of the world called the South Side of Chicago. Every day I get home and I feel so bad for you Northsiders. I feel so bad for you Westsiders, even the folks from the East Side and the suburbs too. And if you meet me at Taste of Chicago in Pullman on Saturday, your first delicacy from the South Side is on me. But I'm not blind to the fact that my community that is so beautiful has its issues. It has its issues with harm, but it's not the only issue. It has issues with opportunity and transportation and clean water and clean air and police accountability. We do not have just one problem. But I'm proud to stand with people who realize that the solutions that we need are far more complicated to be solved by simple solutions. Bars of the jail variety, bars of the prison variety, bars that fit on our ankles, bars that are fixed to the necks of individuals that are just trying to make it back. Those bars will not solve the problems that we have all across this country. I hope that we realize that we will not continue to solve our problems through incarceration. I'm proud to stand with the people who decided that they've had enough. So I think I was asked here today because I was one of thousands of people who fought to end a policy that was the greatest manifestation of that tie to the legal system and poverty and incarceration, that is cash bond. See, in Illinois and all of the states that employ it, we run an auction system. Let me say it again, we run an auction system. We in America, we should be familiar with auction systems. A system that puts a price tag on one's freedom. But there are leaders in this city, in this region, in this state that have fought to end that practice. Those leaders were organized. Let me say it again, those leaders were organized by people like you. Those organizers and those leaders that were organized knew the same thing that the mothers and the grandmothers and the sisters and the girlfriends and the church ladies knew, the ones I talked to when I was an attorney at 26 in California. They knew that putting a price tag on one's freedom was awful. They knew that the decision to pay rent or pay for their loved one's freedom was a decision that they shouldn't have to make. They knew we hired fancy academics and fancy researchers to learn that we were pulling literally tens and millions of dollars out of communities, money that could be no better described than ransom. So formerly incarcerated people and faith leaders and organizers and lawyers and regular folks that were from Chicago and from Champaign and from Springfield and from Rockford, even Northsiders and Westsiders got together with Southsiders, of course, and organized, and they ended the practice of cash bond. The Coalition to End Money Bond and the Illinois Network for Pretrial Justice, shout out to the People's Lobby, released court watching reports, field town halls, field the Capitol lobby days. They met in churches with 3 people. They met in churches with 300 people. They locked arms with elected officials at 26 in California and refused to leave. They found champions. They talked to opponents. They wrote legislation. They knocked on doors. They fought a multi-million-dollar misinformation campaign. They convinced the governor, they convinced the legislator, and they got the votes. And at the eve of it starting, of us ending cash bond, our opponents turned to the courts to delay implementation. It ain't right. It's a practice that we've seen across the entire country, running to the courts to stop progressive change. So now we are waiting on the Illinois Supreme Court to make a decision on whether cash bond, the end of cash bond, will move forward. We are confident that we will win, but no matter the decision, we will continue to organize. I only have a little bit of time left. I'm a public defender. I'm gonna have to put in a plug for public defenders. No reform that we earn on paper can get to people without representation. No reform we put on paper cannot get to actual people without representation. Left to its own devices, the system will too often push incarceration. We as public defenders fight that fight, and our effectiveness relies on the support we get. We are blessed to come from a county that understands that importance, but that is not the case across the country. Our history of mass incarceration and wrongful convictions and false confessions and permanent punishments and vengeful revenge does not have to be our future of mass incarceration and wrongful convictions and false confessions and permanent punishments and vengeful revenge. We have leaders, many of which we will hear from today, the Foxes and the Peters and the Johnsons of the world that have stood up to power and fought for change. And we as public defenders will continue to join that fight. For decades, the criminal laws have been written by police and prosecutors and leaders that feel only accountable to them. I ask those here in Chicago, here in Cook County, and across the country to support your public defenders, to include them in the fight for justice. We are not just a stepping stone. We are not just a pool to create progressive prosecutors. We ourselves can fight for change. We ourselves can join you and get the justice that we deserve. I'm so happy that y'all are here in my city. I'm so happy that y'all are here in my city. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for continuing to fight for our communities. And speaking of fighting, I have the pleasure of introducing two icons, two legends that have fought for change in our criminal legal system. I have the great honor of introducing Colette Payne and State's Attorney Kim Foxx to the stage. Thank you all so much.